just gotta. Oh!
Okay, that was a little dramatic.
Hey guys, welcome back. Oh, my head. Hope you enjoyed my terrible acting. So there's one. No, well, there's more than one design flaw, but there's a design flaw in the 15TB, and this is one big one here. And, if somebody wants to walk by or go to the next cabinet over or something, you got a nice little head bump there. So we've kind of come up with a solution to fix this, and it makes the cabinets a little more accessible. Like if you're standing over here, the fridge, and you want to get in this cabinet here, you kind of have to go around and swing it by your face to get into it. It's kind of inconvenient. We've done it with this one already, so we're going to move on to these next ones, but basically this is going to be opening up now. So
This was your prototype.
This was my prototype. So now that I finally have gotten some work done on it, it does open up, and then there's a little hinge that holds it up, and then it'll stay open. You can get whatever you need out of there. You can leave it open while you're cooking, cleaning, whatever, and not whack your head, on the corner or on the handles and stuff. So what I'm going to do for you today is kind of show you my process on how we've done this, and then show you what you need as far as tools and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, here's everything that we used on this project. There may or may not be a couple things here that you do or do not need, but we'll start over here. Definitely a tape measure and a writing utensil. We used a pencil and a Sharpie, which is not here. Some clamps to hold the jig down. And talking about the jig, we have a Craig jig. This came in a kit with this and a couple of drill bits. You'll definitely need that for the recessed hinges. Used a pair of pliers to hold a couple things. You might not need them. A putty knife. That is, I used it to pry, and then we used it to kind of smooth out some silicone. Next thing is a 12-volt drill. I use this for the Phillips. You can also use a hand Phillips screwdriver. You can use this for the jig. You don't really need an 18, which I used, but we had both drills, so I used the 18-volt to make the recessed hinge holes. Here is the hinge that holds the cabinets up. I will leave a link in the description below for that and everything here. Some drill bits. We only use one drill bit out of here, the 11/64 out of that, and then the caulking gun. Yes, the Vanna White. So caulking gun, if you can find a smaller tube, like a little squeezy tube, that'd probably be better, but oyster gray out of the tile section is what we found that will match the cabinets the best, and it's good for nicks and things on the front of the cabinets as well. So the first thing we need to do is remove the door, and I just removed the whole thing including the hinges because we end up having to move the hinges to the top of the cabinet door anyway. So we'll go ahead and remove these guys. Try not to lose the screws. You can always replace them, but it's easier just to keep the screws you got. The first step is to remove the hinges from the door, set those aside, and then you can see where those were. And then we're going to have to change the screws that attach these hinges to the door because I don't have any of these little plug deals, so I'm just going to use some wood screws. And then just remove the rest of the hardware, so the little door latch here, because that's going to be moved as well, and the door handle. these hinges are held in by these plastic deals there, and apparently they over tighten them from the factory, which causes them to spin. It causes them to spin inside of the hole they make. We're just using a putty knife to get some leverage underneath of it, and prying and drilling, and then it'll pop out the little plastic piece. Okay, so one main thing you'll need is this hinge jig. I got this on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description so you can pick this up. It has a couple of drill bits, and then this template here, and then it gives you the correct distance from the edge of your working piece. And then basically all I did to get the correct distance to the edge, see it has these guides here on the bottom that you can spin, and then that sets the distance of the jig from the edge of the piece of wood. So all I did was stick the drill bit inside an existing hole and then set the distance of these. I just set the distance on the distance thingies to get the distance of the hole from the edge of the piece of wood from where it was originally. So I just lined up the edge of the jig with the edge of the door, and then I've got some clamps. You can probably get some smaller ones, but this is what I have. Tighten that down and tighten the other side down. Make sure when you're tightening the clamps down that the jig stays up against the piece of wood. So that's nice and tight. So the kit has this depth setter here, so when we drill down it'll stop right there, so it won't go too deep. We just hook our drill to it. We ran out of screws, and so basically to put these hinges in, you need to use wood screws, or you get more of these plastic insert things. I'm just using wood screws. So number 6 3/4 inch screws are perfect for these hinges. So yeah, just take these screws and install the hinges in their new spot. Ta-da! Okay, so this part is done, so now we need to get the handle installed. So what we're going to do is take one of the other doors and use the existing holes where the handle was, and use that as a template. So we measured halfway in between the short side of the door that already had the holes and then the long side, clamped them together right at the edge, because the wood fake wood is the same size all the way around, so we just use this as a template. And then I just used a 11/64 drill bit to just drill through the same hole there. You can see our almost finished vertical door, I guess. We still need to install it, but we did find some putty to fit inside of the holes there, so it matches really well. And then we got our handle on the new side of the door, and then when you open it, you know, our new hinges are at the top. So yeah, the next step on this would be to install the new keeper hinge. And then actually I have the one I finished right here. This piece I'll have to install once we get the door in there, so I know exactly where everything's going to go. And then our little latch piece that we reused from, well, you can see it was mounted here when they open horizontally. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of these doors, then we can go in and install them in the camper. Okay, now that we got all the cabinet doors built with the hinges and the handle and whatnot, we need to install the doors. So this is the first one, obviously, that we did. So basically, we just kind of need to mimic this a little bit. So what I did for this one is open up the hinges all the way, and then put it up on the cabinet, and then just kind of center the door. And I just need a little help from the camera person. And then just kind of eyeball it a little bit, centered in the doorway, because once the door is closed, you won't really see it too much. So I just marked it with a Sharpie, well, with a Milwaukee. Alright, so once I got my marks, I just make some pilot holes with the screws, so it's easier when we go to put the cabinet door in. Screw our hinge in. Maybe. There we go. Make sure not to strip the holes out, because this particle board stuff is pretty flimsy, and if you strip the holes out, your hinges won't hold very well. Okay, there's door number 2. Okay, the next thing are these little hinges. The reason why I do this next is because it'll hold the door open while I'm doing the rest. I originally got these gas struts, and I didn't realize that these were super powerful, 200 Newton, and all I really need is like 40, because I can't even hardly push these. So I put one on this door, that's why I have so many holes, and basically it was like ruining the hinges in the door, and because it's too powerful. So that's why I went to Amazon again and got these little, I don't even know what you call them, door keepers. Anyway, I'll have the link in the description for all the stuff we've used. So there's 2 sides to these things. One's flat this way, like this is
Parallel?
This one is straight, and then this one is the opposite. So,
good descriptor.
Thanks.
It's right there with the templater out there.
So if we look at this one, I went sort of right below where the old
Existing hole
is. So, okay, I'm an idiot, and nope, wait.
Bottom, below.
Apparently these little holder keeper dealies go a certain direction. Okay, update, because I've been messing with this for a while. So these little hinges, you need to put them in so that the little, I don't know, holder part, for lack of better words,
Notch.
the notch is facing the side of the camper, because if you turn it this way, it'll just hit the hinge will hit the door. The other thing we found out is that this little piece here, the two holes need to be towards the door, the cabinet door, because if you put it this way, you need to put the flat part towards your cabinet door, so when your cabinet closes, so I guess if it went on this side of the door, it'll close like this, basically. So then this won't interfere with your door actually closing. I know none of that made sense, so just, if you have a question, type it down in the comments below, because I'm babbling. I, again, don't recommend the screws that came with it, because they're not very big, so I feel like they're going to rip out of the wood. So anyway, those are in, so now we have a functioning door, so that'll stay up. Here's our other one. So the next thing we need to do is put in the friction little dealy majigger
Box. What are those called?
the cabinet latch.
Cabinet latch.
Yep. So that's these things, and they just snap into those. So I need to find the center of the cabinet door opening. The best way these mount are if the legs on here are flush with the front of the cabinet, because that gives it enough latch there. Because if you put it back too far, this little piece won't latch in there very well. So this can adjust here. So we want to make sure the screw kind of goes in the middle so it can adjust later. Once again, don't over tighten these screws because the particle board is pretty weak. So if you over tighten these, this wood will strip out. Alright, so the next thing is the little latch piece that goes on the door. So what I do is stick that into the latch, and we've got to move all of our crap out of the way, and then close the door, hold it on the back, and push the door up against it, because there are some little spikes right next to the holes. I don't know if you can see that, but that can leave some little dimples in your door there, so it's easier to mount. There we go. 14th time's the charm. All right. Look at that. Okay, 2 down and
3 to go.
3 to go. Okay, so this is
After lots of color hunting.
silicone from Home Depot. This is actually the tile section, but it was, you know, in the silicone section they don't really have any colors like this, but this is oyster gray. Oyster gray. So you can see where we filled it in on this door. So we'll go ahead and
So you want to put a little dollop on and then just pull it down. It works a lot easier. Then it's nice and flush. And then you let it dry. And then later come back
would you look at that?
and scrape it off, because it's silicone. It scrapes really nicely off.
Okay guys, that is it. All the cabinets are done. Just gotta wait for the silicone to dry, but yeah, this was a pretty simple project, except for some technicalities of cabinets flying down and hitting me in the forehead. But yeah, this will make everything a lot more convenient. So when you have your cabinets open, you know, you don't have to swing around the edge of the cabinet and whack your head on it a bunch of times. So this is nice because we can open all these. I mean, we could open all of them and none of the doors will be in the way, which is super awesome. I think this is the way these campers should come. I don't understand why in such a tiny little space they have the cabinets swing out and like take up half of your walking area, which, you know, we only have this little bit. So I think this is the way it should come. This is a pretty easy modification, just a couple of easy tools. You could even do this with a screwdriver. Nope, you can't. Can't just use a screwdriver, you need a drill. You could use a pretty inexpensive drill to at least drill the recessed hinges there. The rest of it can be done with a screwdriver because they're all just little Phillips screws. So I'll leave a list in the description below with everything we used, including the jig, the drill, you know, all the parts and pieces that you need, the little hinges that we use to keep these open, these guys. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'm happy to answer anything about any modifications that we've done to the 15 TB. And yeah, make sure you check out my other videos. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, share with your friends if this is helpful. We will see you on the next video.